There's been like 4 phases. It's been much bigger. It's been like Michigan. And I think that's old enough. I mean, the ice left.
Okay, here we go.
To be continued.
It is noon on Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021, and I'll call the meeting of the Manitowoc Public School District Board of Education to order. Our first order of business would be our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And then I'll ask our board secretary to take roll.
Colin Burnell.
Here.
Lisa Johnston.
Here.
Dave Nichols.
Here.
Meredith Sauer. Here. Stacy Seldner. Here. Carrie Trask.
Here.
And Kathy Willis. Here. Thank you.
And then you should all have a copy of the meeting minutes from June 8th, which included a closed session. I would entertain a motion and a second to approve.
I'll make that motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those are carried. Communications, I have a number of letters here from our scholarship recipients. Thank you letters. So we always get a bunch of those because we do have a lot of scholarships that we offer, and I appreciate that they get back to us and thank us for that. That will probably serve them well in the future. That's probably one reason why they got scholarships, but
Yeah.
so I appreciate that. Then we have, I'll move to committee reports. The first committee would be the curriculum committee. Meredith, we had a meeting on June 17th.
Yep, last Thursday. So we took the bulk of our time to walk through our achievement gap reductions and some of the what that framework looks like, and then what the end of the year reports look like specifically for Franklin and Jefferson elementary schools. And you'll see those results. Yes, you'll see those results there in board book. Later in the meeting, I believe it's on the agenda to go ahead and apply again to continue to work with those achievement gaps. It's an application process through DPI that we'll take a look at later today, I believe.
Meredith, we'll see those results on board book later.
They're in your board book. What was presented at the curriculum committee is presented.
I have the minutes of the curriculum committee.
Yep, and then on page 9
Oh, okay.
of the board documents, those outcomes are in there.
Okay.
And then we talked about last year during COVID, there were teaching and learning commitments that were created in the pandemic phase, specifically addressing a lot of things about virtual learning, and those commitments have stuck around and have been kind of streamlined and are now 7 commitments that are presented to the teachers and staff to be able to all kind of abide by and be able to work into. And so those were presented and walked through as well. And then finally, Jason walked through a catalog of professional development opportunities that are there for our teachers over the summer. There's been some professional development offered, and this year it's been harnessed into an official catalog where teachers are now registering, and they had, I believe Jason said, like 87 different teachers are enrolled in those opportunities throughout the summer.
It's just in literacy and math.
Yes, there are a couple of other just kind of one-offs. I believe they did focus more on ELA and math, and they're hoping to expand in the following years into some of the elective areas as well as like science and social studies. So it's a start. It's a launch point. So those are the 3 items that we talked about. And again, on page 20, you'll see that recommendation in regard to the HER for Jefferson and Franklin. I think that's it.
Any questions for Meredith? I would entertain a motion and a second to approve the minutes from that meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? None, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then we'll move to finance and budget. Kathy, that would be yours.
Okay, last week, Thursday, we held a very short meeting and had just a couple of points, because we had a much longer one, as you might recall, previously. We just had to go over budgets. There are some adjustments that need to be made, and part of those adjustments were for the ESSER CARES, or ESSER and GEARS, which makes up CARES funds. And those were in the areas of special education and food service. They were brought forward by Sean Alfred in November, but need to be formally approved by the board today, if possible. Let's see, what else do we have? We also had issues with our open enrollment due to the pandemic, and so there were some adjustments to our budget because of that. And then lastly, just our, excuse me, our bus contract with Grant Bus. We're very lucky to have them in the area. We always have a 5-year contract with them, and we've used up 1 year of that, so we keep adding another year on what it's been described as a rolling contract. So we have to approve that additional 1 year today so that we continuously have a 5-year contract. And part of the reason we do that is so that when there are expenditures on Grant's part, they can always rely on having that contract with us. So say they buy new equipment, new buses, they know they've got a 5-year contract with us so that it can help with their costs. And that's really it. If there are any questions, I would probably defer them to Angela.
Does it always go up each year? I mean, it went up 3.25.
The
Yeah.
contract,
Yeah.
I'm assuming so, being the first time it's on budget and finance for myself, I would defer that over on that side.
Pretty much, it's just inflation, right?
So typically the contract goes up. 2 years ago, it went down because we had less routes.
Oh,
So the actual dollar amount really depends on, in all honesty, the number of routes we run.
mhm.
And when we did grade realignment, we reduced the number of routes we had because we aligned. We weren't transporting kindergarten students all to Riverview. Some of them were walking to their neighborhood schools, so we reduced routes. So that actually reduced our cost. If we add routes, it costs more. So we have the same amount of routes. This is just inflationary costs.
It's sort of built into the whole economy, I guess, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it's a 5-year contract that's negotiable every year.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
I
essentially
see.
what it is.
So
So
we're
it's
only-
yeah.
We're only
There's a
increasing it
protective
for 1 year.
There's some
Yeah.
protection in there for each party. That's why we always went to the 5-year.
That's sort of what
It's
I
negotiable.
wonder, is a 5-year contract like a 5-year contract, or does it go up every year? So
That's- yeah.
Yeah, if we don't renew it by, or as of, we have to give notice by June 1st, I think it says in there, otherwise it's in a sense, it's automatically renewed, just to protect both parties as well, so we know that we have busing.
And we'll be discussing that later because I.
Yeah, sure,
that's an
okay.
item for-
Yeah,
Yeah,
right, okay.
just so you know.
One thing to make note of, though, I should have mentioned before, is that as a school system, we're also responsible for the parochial schools transportation. So those students who qualify for transportation, we actually have to supply that for them. And so we incur that cost.
So how come that? I mean, what,
Because they pay taxes.
they pay taxes, yeah, they don't pay taxes to us, though.
Well,
Taxes.
it's a state requirement,
Okay,
so there are some requirements that the state provides to all pupils, and transportation and food service would be part of that, and then the other piece would be the potential of special education services, so there's a few other auxiliary pieces, but those are the logistics of that.
I don't want to draw the meeting out, I'm commenting and everything, but, it's just you will do a little bit.
It just flows through us, I guess is a good way to put it. We're financially responsible for certain things, but it flows through the MTSC. We're responsible for,
Organizing,
you know,
picking them up,
and providing that.
providing.
Stimulus dollars we had to, were allocated to parochial districts for revenues.
We lose funds in the process of that whole.
Well,
that
but
whole
regardless,
setup, so.
that's just the law. We don't have
Yeah,
control over that. So seems to have worked well.
Okay.
Okay, I would entertain a motion in a second to approve the Finance and Budget Committee minutes.
Make a motion.
Okay, second?
A second.
Any discussion on that? If none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then we'll move on to the report of the superintendent, and our first report would be our personnel report. Is Joyce available?
Joyce is,
Or-
I'm pinch hitting.
Or someone to
for
report?
Joyce,
Yes, thank you.
today, so, you should have in front of you, the June 22nd personnel report, from Board Book. And I'll do my best with any questions you have, but otherwise, we would need action in that round.
Mark, is, the math coach, it says it's a new position. Can you tell me a little bit about just the new position that was created?
So, okay,
That would be under.
Yep. So both Washington and Wilson are hiring for a math coach. So a math coach is an individual who will work for the most part with staff. I think that for this year, both Wilson and Washington's potential math coach will have 1 or 2 classroom assignments in order to support some needs that the building has. We have math coaches in our elementary schools now. And so the idea is to provide our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teachers who are in charge of teaching math with on-site additional professional development. And I do believe that both of them have at least 1 and maybe 2 classes, whether that's in grade 6 or in grade 7 or 8. Each building's a little unique.
Question.
Colin,
What is a level movement from level 5 to level 6, the last
Yeah.
line item B?
So the district has levels from 1 through, I believe, 7. And those are in place to provide people additional compensation for credits or positions earned. So master's degree plus 15 credits, a PhD. The district identifies those as opportunities to advance in a compensation level. I don't know off the top of my head how much the difference is between level 5 and level 6. I want to say it's $1,500 to $1,800. So if I have a bachelor's plus 15 and I get to a master's degree, the district recognizes that and then gives a $1,500 to $1,800 raise for that. That's what that is indicating. And earlier in the year, I believe the board approved doing that twice instead of once. So this would take place in September when they start. So
they don't get 2 increases.
No,
Just
but
if
they
they
can
want-
apply for
But
it.
Yeah,
it
yes,
can be,
yeah, can be,
we
yes.
can allocate it twice rather than
Okay.
that having to do it the one time. If they meet the criteria, then we,
Beginning of the year, end of year.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
get your
You
That's
can't
right.
wait maybe over the whole
Yeah.
year and whatever that is. But anyway, that is an indication that whenever this individual's contract begins, which is likely when school starts, they'll have moved from the end of this year to a new section in next year.
I also have a question, Mark. I've noticed that 3 of the the professional staff, the new teaching positions, not newly created, but just being filled, don't have salaries listed. Do you know why that is? 2 of them are current employees there, so
So
I thought
if,
that might be.
yep, so if they're not changing jobs, their salary is their salary. So we'll just take the one on here that's, and I don't know what the salary is, but I'm looking at Alan Kelly, obtained a bachelor's degree, University of Akron Lincoln, teaching license, 145, replacement. I can't tell you why that one's not on there, to be honest with you. I thought that would be, so Gavin would be a better example, I think. His is on there too.
But he's currently been a teacher here.
Yeah, so typically if you move from, like, let's say I'm teaching 7th grade at Wilson and I'm gonna go teach 7th grade at Washington, we don't pay you different. You're gonna get the same whether you're at one or the other, so that's why we move it. I'm not sure, I apologize, I should have looked at that. I can find out and let you know.
Yeah, it was the Alan Kiley that I
Right.
wasn't sure about because there wasn't one listed, and it doesn't look as though he's worked here
Yeah,
before.
so it says he was a full-time substitute But the full-time substitute is not gonna be equal to a special education salary. So again, I don't know, my guess would be, it's going to be, I don't see one here, it's what the initial base is, but I will do a little research and find out, and let you know.
Thank you.
Apologize for that.
Any other questions?
So with, seeing as how we don't have complete information, then do we then vote on that to approve it, or do we table it?
You can, you can amend it. And I would just suggest that because of that we take parts of it and approve, and then pull out the ones that we don't have answers to, and then do them on the next one.
Okay,
Just because when you have retirements and resignations,
sure.
probably best to approve it. I mean,
Make the process move along.
yeah, I mean, one of them is 25th,
Yeah.
we should really approve that. But yeah, you can do that. You can amend it to,
I would like
pull
to-
out the ones that maybe the best, and you can do whatever you want, but the ones that don't have the information, complete information, how would that sound?
Sure.
Or should we just do all or you could do all the professional staff, all of those changes, you could do that too.
It's
Why
really
don't we
just,
just trust that it's that the
Yeah.
salary.
Whatever,
we
but
have a
whatever.
salary
So
listed.
what I would do is I would ask for a motion in a second and then offer an amendment.
Okay.
Does that sound right? Okay, so we do need a motion and a second for the personnel report.
I'll make the motion, we accept the report.
yeah, I'll second.
Okay,
And I'd like to make an amendment
okay,
that we, table those without the salary, that are new positions to the next meeting.
so approve the ones that have the salaries listed and including the resignations and the retirements, and pull out the ones that aren't listed or don't have the salary listed, right? Does that sound? We need a second for that.
It's really just one.
You may just,
It's
yeah,
just one.
didn't we
Just
give an
the
explanation for if they're continuing teachers?
Well, regardless, whatever it is, it's
Because
just
the
the
ones
one,
that are new appointments.
Yeah. So it'd just be the one position, right? I want to make sure that's not,
Ashley Bauer,
She's been here for 5 years.
Yeah, she's Ashley's example of, she's currently a teacher and she's moving to a different building to be a teacher but she's gonna get paid the same as she always got paid. There's no change there. The one we don't know about, I think, honestly, is
It's
Alan Kelly.
Yeah,
And I just asked Angela to walk down to HR to see if she could find out. And honestly, Joyce is out on vacation this
Yeah.
week, so if we don't pass one, we can work through it. Otherwise, I can give you an update as we go.
Mark, just as a point of clarification, don't we have a standardized salary schedule that where we place people?
Yes.
It's not like we're plucking numbers out of a hat.
but we don't have it on the report, and we should have all of the information that we need to approve something.
So
So
I
I
guess,
agree, I agree with the
I don't,
discussion, yeah.
I know there's a motion in a second and then there's amendment. I guess I would add, I can tell you what the number is. I just have it written down in front of me right now. If
Yeah.
that is appropriate for the board to
Yeah.
consider. So that
I'll
number
withdraw
is.
my amendment.
If you've got the amount,
There we
yeah.
go, yeah,
So
let's do that.
the amendment would be 47,725, identical to Lindsay above that.
Yeah.
There must be a 1 year experience line.
And then, I would just ask if that could just be changed, and then we would get that with that amount in it.
You want the personnel?
Personnel report, yeah, just send it to everybody, so
Oh,
they got that
sure,
amount in there.
absolutely.
Okay, so we're back to the motion. Any further discussion on that? Are we okay? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, good, thank you. Then we have the AGR contract renewal. Is that yours, Angela, or is that Mark's?
Yeah, actually, Pam is here.
Oh, she's here, okay.
Yeah, I was like,
She's on, so I'll turn it over to Pam. A lot of thumbs going back.
Go through three of them, pass them up, okay. Here we
Hi.
go. Pam,
Basically, what that entails is that Franklin and Jefferson need the board's approval to move forward with renewing their 5-year contract. AGR funding is on a 5-year rotating basis, and so they are at the end of their current 5-year contract at the end of this month, and just need approval to move forward with the renewal of a new contract for the next 5 years.
Achievement gap reduction.
Oh,
any questions for Pam while she's live on screen?
Pam, can you just
just give us a little overview, going the wrong way. Give us a little overview on, what the contract entails.
Sure. Basically, what it entails is the schools take the information. It's very similar to what they've provided to you in these reports that they do twice a year. But what they do is they provide some baseline information. This year will be the baseline information from this end of the year report moving forward. So they'll take their data that they've collected now at the end of the year and then move that forward into their planning for next year. They have to identify their strategy that they're going to utilize. They will continue to focus in quite heavily on instructional coaching. We also work real hard to try to keep the class sizes small at both schools, at those K through 3 grade levels. And then they have to provide just a kind of a narrative of what are some of the specific things that they're going to do to implement those strategies and then assess students. And those are very similar again to what they've included in those reports. So not a whole lot different, just defining what instructional coaching kind of looks like, engaging with professional learning communities, providing some student and staff support within the classroom, and then data analysis and making sure that they're helping teachers set targets for intervention and growth for students. So kind of just a generalized version of what they are providing in this specific annual report. And then every year they have to, at the end of the first semester and at the end of the school year, provide a report to the board on their progress.
Thank you.
Pam, could you just give a real brief overview of how Franklin and Jefferson are identified as being eligible, and then how much money the district is allocated approximately based on, maybe that's the answer to the question too, based on application for AGR?
Yeah, the identification predates me, so I'm not sure what their original application looked like, but really it's based upon the free and reduced population in the school, and that acknowledgement that there are achievement gaps because of some of that, and then it does provide a funding source of about $800,000 approximately. Every year. So that money is then used to provide some of that additional support to the staff and students, and then also for some of the resources that they need.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion in a second to approve that contract renewal.
I would move.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and we'll move to the district activity update. That would be Superintendent Olson.
Okay, three just kind of real brief things. Summer school is now underway, and we have a number of students who are participating in multiple activities. Our activities section is going on right now, so hopefully we had some cooler weather the last couple of days, and that's been always very positive when you have a lot of kids running around doing some fun things. So that's been going great. I talked earlier a little bit that I was at a baseball sectional yesterday, and this weekend, Friday, I believe, our last 2020-2021 activity is state track. So we have, I think, 8 athletes who will be participating in lacrosse on Friday at the state track, and then Saturday. Sorry, thank you.
Used to be Friday,
Used to be
Saturday.
Friday, Saturday. So now it's just Saturday, and they'll go there and compete. And then that will be the last event officially of the 2020-21 school year. And we'll begin moving forward real quickly, but to kind of give you an idea of how quick things turn around. I believe August 3rd, our football team reports back to school for practice. Then the following week, I believe, is volleyball, soccer, marching band. So July is usually the kind of deep breath month for all of our students and staff, and we return back at it. So some good times for our kids and our staff.
Any other questions for Mark? Okay, then we'll move on to unfinished business. We have a second read of policy 7460, conservation of natural and Material resources, this is from our last meeting. We do need to approve policies at 2 separate meetings. That's why we always bring those forward in order for them to take effect. I would entertain a motion, I would entertain a motion and a second to approve the final read of that policy.
Make a motion.
I'll second. Any further discussion on the policy? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that then effectively becomes the
That's it.
policy of our board. So, then I'll move to the next item, the superintendent evaluation. Carrie had asked me to put this on the agenda, so I'll turn it over to you.
So, in the shuffle between Dick leaving and the election and a change of personnel in a way. I honestly didn't, I knew the policy because, I was here when we voted on it, but I didn't pay attention, I guess. And so, it's supposed to start in the first meeting in May. The process of evaluating the superintendent is supposed to start in the first meeting in May and end in the last meeting of June, which is now. And, we brought this up in the meeting, I think, on the first meeting in June. And I thought, oh my God, and then I think Lisa said, well, the personnel committee is got to develop a system. So I was behind, but I quickly got stuff from Lori, and Lori said it, and I got stuff from other sources such as the Wisconsin School Board Association. Yesterday I talked to the person that handles the evaluation stuff. And of course, she was very, very good. I mean, she lives in St. Nazian, so how could she not be? But the bottom line is that she really wanted to sell the package, and there's the package that'll take care of us for 3 years for $600. And I'm going for we'll develop our own. But we'll use whatever that we can get that is useful from them, which is we do have an evaluation form that has been used that I think we can maybe consider looking at to use again. But we're going to have a work session in early July, and we're going to and what I would like to do is I'd like to kind of get official permission. The policy says has to be done by the last meeting in June, unless the board, it just, the phrase is not very descriptive, but it is a loophole to allow for an extension. And I'd like to ask for an extension to bring what we put together to the first board meeting in August. I think we'll have a damn good system by the first meeting in August for the board to look at.
So you don't feel that you're prepared to present an evaluation, a fair and reasonable evaluation by the next meeting, by the end of June? Because
Absolutely, we're
but
not.
by the end of June, yeah, we're
Not by the end of June. We're not prepared.
so you're not going to meet again, right? So okay, all right,
The committee's going to meet. We're going to meet and work on this and get some.
All right.
But we'll
I mean, I know I get.
report that in the first meeting in August.
Yeah, you don't have enough presented today, or
No, we do not. No,
even
we
doing
do
it in the next couple of days, right? Okay. Well, wasn't anybody else think here?
That's why Attorney Burns, he sat in on that decision, on that policy 1240.
Right.
That was his language to put in there for an instance exactly like this.
Okay.
So that was put in there for a reason, and this is a good reason why we want to take advantage of extending that, so.
It's a real reason, whether it's good or not. But,
wanna make a motion?
after we do this, unless there's some real critical evaluation process once we apply it this year. I mean, we should have a process that will be applicable.
So you want to
And-
postpone, you want to postpone completing that evaluation until our first Tuesday meeting in August, is that what you're saying?
No, that's not exactly what I said.
Well, because you
I
did
want to
mention-
postpone the schedule to provide us the time to really get a method put together. Evaluation form, what we're evaluating, you know, the whole philosophy and nature of how we're going to evaluate, and present that to the board for use. First meeting in August, and then we'll apply it. And we'll probably come up with something, you know, the last minute, you know, we'll have an evaluation by the last meeting in September. But I'm only asking for the postponement now so that we're provided the time to do the work.
Yeah, Colin?
Question is to, okay, so that would place the evaluation to take place 8/10 of, according to what we would be doing. Does that, as far as the timeline of when we need to present a evaluation to the superintendent, does that fall in line with what we need to do as far as, are there any timeline conflicts?
Well, there's
To
a
that.
timeline. I mean, we need to get, you know, we need to have a conference with the superintendent before the middle of December. Because, you know, his contract comes up for renewal in January, right? Or it has to be like cleared so that can be. Yeah. So that's sort of the ultimate deadline, I think, on this process.
I guess I have, my question would be, is the process that's gonna happen in between now and August for the previous year's evaluation, or for the evaluation from that point moving forward? We had a discussion.
Well, my sense, you know, and having read it, my sense is that I think we want to establish goals and then measure your performance against the goals that we've agreed to work on. So I do think that, you know, the evaluation is going forward for the next academic year. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think are we in a position to do an evaluation for the past year? I don't, you know, I mean, nothing has been gathered. There's been no discussion of like, well, what are we going to evaluate and what are the criteria going to be? What are the rubrics, et cetera, et cetera. It seems to me that, you know, nothing that was done last year is nothing that wasn't done last year. I mean, nothing was much done last year, I don't think, unless you put in a self-evaluation essay, which is usually part of the process. So that we have nothing that is applicable to the policy that we now have and have adopted. So it seems to me that we're starting from, you know, from zero here, and going forward with an evaluation that will be applicable according to the needs of the policy for next year.
Yeah, the policy was changed, I would say, significantly.
Oh, yeah, radical.
So the point is, what do you want to do? You want to ask for the board to approve an extension or postpone?
I want to ask the board for an extension.
Until you have a date you want to extend it to?
Yeah, August 1st, or the August 1st meeting, which is the
August, is it the 10th?
8/10. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to make a motion to that effect?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd like the board to approve.
Okay, then we can move forward. Anybody want to second that? Second, okay, now we got discussion on it. Anybody got anything?
Yeah, I'm
Go
confused
ahead,
on
Kathy.
one point. August 1st would be the point where you want to be able to come back to the board, or where we would have given.
The first meeting.
the
August
evaluation
10th, I think it is.
The first meeting.
In August
Yeah.
would be when our superintendent would receive an evaluation.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify.
No.
So the extension is
No, he wouldn't, and that's a good
specifically for-
clarification.
Okay,
And I guess I sort of, you know, garbled that in
It's
the
for-
explanation I gave, but we're not in a position yet to evaluate it because we don't have any kind of evaluation, you know, any evaluation machine to do it.
so what I heard you say though is that you want until August 10th, our first meeting in August, to put together the tools that we need to do a superintendent evaluation, which would be given by the end of September.
A description of what you know, a description of what we're gonna evaluate, and how we're gonna evaluate, plus the tools to do the work.
I would be in favor of that because that's what we've been looking forward to doing, is putting a formalized approach to this so that every year it's consistent, and we are in the first year of it. So, you know, we just need more time to do that. And as you said, the kind of the leader of who had put this together before didn't make, you know, the votes this time, unfortunately. And so
Yeah,
done a
and this,
weird flip,
yeah, and this,
so,
and the policy requires 2 evaluations,
Right.
you know. And we certainly can carry that. And, I think like the final formal, like high mass evaluation will come at the, you know, at the end.
this year,
Yeah.
by January, yeah.
Okay, any other questions on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Okay, that is carried. You have your extension.
All right.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to new business. These would be from the Finance and Budget Committee. You had 2, looks like there's 2 items here. One is the budget amendments. And the other is the bus pupil contract. So the first one is the budget amendments. You already have that approved by the committee, so it's in the form of discussion. Any discussion on those amendments, on those budget amendments? I believe we should have all got those from Angela. Okay.
Yep.
I'm hearing no questions. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, then we'll move to the bus pupil transportation contract. That also doesn't require a motion since it came from committee, but it is in the form of discussion. Any discussion on that contract?
I was just curious about, is there any other bus service in this area besides Brand?
Not that,
Two Rivers and Valders both have smaller partners. And then I think it's Langers or Lammers, I'm not sure which one it is.
Lammers.
Langers to Green Bay area, and I want to say Priggy to the Sheboygan area.
And Culberson is to the west.
Culberson.
We've had discussions in the past with Culberson and Lammers. I don't know if we've ever talked with Priggy. You know, one of the challenges is that they can come in at a price that's close.
Yeah.
But we pay for them to get here. And we felt that if there was a price difference, there wasn't the value. We had a local provider. We can call them. There are times where buses don't show or they go to the wrong place, and we can call and get them there quickly. It's a real challenge with the bus contract. But I know that we discussed with Lammers and Culberson. I don't know if we ever, I don't recall ever talking with Priggy. We never were given any type of bid that was favorable. So that's why we stick with Brand. They're local. We need them, they need us. But whether or not we could save a few dollars, I doubt it, but it would only be a few dollars. So without developing our own bus transportation, and we have a school district that's pretty large to do that. The smaller ones can do it. But, you know, yeah.
And comfortable after fills the room.
No, but it is something to talk about because every year that bus contract's gonna come up.
Yeah,
Because there's an ability to negotiate, and it's a big part of what we do. We gotta bus our kids, you know?
I would say we've had a very favorable communication with Brent Bus.
Yeah, I would think so.
When
Yeah.
when
I
I
was
call.
just curious, like, you know, maybe it would be just good due diligence every few years to bid it out and just see where we're
It's
at.
been a while since we've done that. I know the last time Steve Reckley was here and we had a conversation, we actually had him here on the agenda and he discussed it, but it's been
And
probably,
even if it's more money, you know, we're not gonna switch, I mean, I wouldn't recommend switching horses if it's somebody, you know,
Right.
unless there's something significant. I
Right,
just was
right.
curious as if, you know, as a
Yeah.
practice, just to.
I'm gonna say it's probably at least 4 years since we've had that discussion. So obviously we discussed the contract, but the last time I think it was here it was a while ago.
How long does that bidding process take? Like if we wanted to do something before the next contracted year, when do we start asking for those kind of things?
You know, I would say in the spring, you know, we're generally talking now, so, you know, we would want to be probably 3 months in advance of awarding a contract. So, you know, we could definitely bring that back to
Is it
generally
on finance?
budget and finance and run some conversations about that. I mean, I would probably want to call, there's the 3 carriers and see if they're interested in before we went to some, because if the 3 contractors say, I'm not interested in coming to Manitowoc,
Right.
then it doesn't even pay to go through the process.
Yeah.
Because there won't be anybody else in Manitowoc that can do it.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, okay. And then we have, it looks like we don't have anything from the personnel committee, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, well, that's easy enough. Don't even have to have a motion for that. Future meeting dates. Our next regularly scheduled meeting would be July 13th. One thing I'd like to bring up is many times we have an more open meeting during the summer for our, either in July or August, where we don't have any items on the agenda that we to approve or to we just discuss things in a more open fashion. It's still a regular board meeting, but we just put things on the, for example, goals of the board, things like that, or items that we'd like to discuss that we don't normally have on the agenda because they might take a little longer. And we've done that in the past many times, and it's very beneficial because we get to have a more open discussion. And again, it's discussion rather than having to have a motion or things like that or approve things. It's gone pretty well. I'd like to do that again. I think it'd be good. We have 2 new members. That's helpful. 3 new members, really.
Yeah.
It's very helpful in that respect. And we do always talk about goals. That's a place where we can maybe come up with some. But again, I wouldn't have anything on the agenda that we would have to, that at least, unless there was personnel issues that we had to deal with immediately, that we would want to have a motion in a second. It would be more broad and open. So everybody would have the ability to, not on the 13th, a different time. We usually do that during the day because it might take long. We've been here for a while on some of those.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody wants to be here until midnight on that kind of stuff. It's easier to do it during the day. You're a little more fresh and more willing to, spend a little more time discussing, because that's what it is. I give everybody a chance to just, talk. Maybe it's opinions too.
It's a great idea.
When do you want to do that? Do you want to do that
We
July?
can do that anytime.
I'm-
And we don't have to.
Well, it has to work.
We don't have to
I
say.
want everybody to be there, and summer is a time where you may have vacations, you may have other things going on. July is not always the best month to schedule meetings.
Well, what about doing it the 4th Tuesday, just like we were today?
Yeah,
We're
that's
all
what,
kind of used to doing that.
that's how we've usually done it, and it's either been in July or August. I like doing it in July because it's before school starts.
Yeah.
When we've done it in August, you come up with some of these ideas and we've already started school.
Yeah, that's true.
Or started the process, so by July works better. So July would be our meeting, I guess, would be the 27th, right?
I won't be in town.
I won't either.
Well, that pretty much ends it. And it doesn't have to be on the Tuesday, by the way.
Yeah,
We
I'm
can
not
pick
out.
a different day.
As much
One
as
option I would say is I could ask Lori to do like a doodle,
Oh, okay.
and we'll find a time. And then if we do that, we could maybe avoid the July 27th meeting,
Right,
and we just pick a different time, or
different time.
early August, something to that extent. I don't know. I think August is gonna be like the 13th again. When the 10th.
10th and the 24th.
So if there was something in early
What kind of
August.
times during the day are best? Or don't work? Any? Well, yeah,
No, anytime.
I'd have to take a vacation.
okay.
I can schedule my clients around it, I guess, so.
But like what times would not work? I want to
I
avoid,
take my kids to
I
school,
want to try to get everybody.
around 8, and I have to pick them up by 5, so preferably, sometime in between those times.
1 o'clock? Would 1 o'clock be okay? Would
After
that be a problem? Would 1 o'clock be a problem?
It just kind of depends on
Is there
You don't have to take a half day.
Right. Just a question.
Yeah.
Would it work if we bumped it up a week ahead of time on the 20th? Does that work for
Yeah,
everybody?
why wouldn't it?
Yeah. Again, it doesn't have to be that, it's a day that's gonna work.
Right, I just was curious.
Because I know you
that
guys
would
said
be a
it
simple
would work.
I have to be in
Everyone's here.
Appleton on the
20th.
20th.
All right.
Yeah, I don't want to exclude anybody from this, because this is.
What we'll
open
try to
discussion.
do is,
Yeah.
I'll have, Lori and I will look, we'll give you a whole bunch of options, and then we'll try to find one that works for 7 people. And when it doesn't
Yeah.
work, when it works for 6, we'll pick a different date.
Right.
Until we get to 7,
Yeah.
and then, we'll find a time. We
You
should be
know,
able to do that between now and the second,
Okay.
and the first meeting in August.
In the past, we've had presentations from, various people, that, just give us ideas. But I know Dennis Kostick was here a couple of times. I don't know if Dennis is still doing that, but.
Is that a closed session or? is
No,
it-
it's an open session. It's open. It's an open meeting. But I usually don't put anything on, or I don't like putting anything on the agenda that we have to take action on. I prefer it to be discussion on various items and leave it open. For example, goals. I don't want to put any specific items in there. You might have something that you are interested in. Or it just might be changes to things and you just want to bring it up and this is an opportunity to do it. And we can discuss it. You don't always get that opportunity during regular meetings to do something like that.
Yeah.
And we can't do it, but in open session.
I
That
know.
could not be
No,
in
no,
closed
it's a
session.
great
We
idea.
can't,
I don't,
we can't go meet at some place and, at the wharf and talk about it. That's illegal.
Several years ago, like, or you got like spaghetti casserole, and we had it like down the hall. How was that an open meeting?
That was the
Like,
same thing. Yeah.
Anybody could have come. It
Any,
just is
the
in a
public
different
has,
space.
we have to allow the public in, yes.
Okay.
We don't have to give them food, but if there's any left over, they can have some.
But that is the meeting.
That
we were
was,
talking
that was
about,
what we did. We typically had food. I didn't want to get into that and, put any pressure on Laurie, but
right?
we usually
have
had
to
food because we
Is that what's
So-
like in the past, like the board retreat?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's what, I guess that's the word we've used for
Okay.
it. So, okay, so Lori will send something out. We'll come up with a date that works, a time that works, so we can do that. For
We
our,
could do it later.
Are there any notes from like some previous years for us to kind of look at? Because even though I'm not a new board member, I've never participated in that because I've only been here during the time.
well, it would just be minutes. It would just be minutes.
Oh, okay.
And those
But
aren't,
Just for an example. of
minutes are never all inclusive, so you can't depend on minutes to tell you everything that went. Do I have notes? I probably do, but
But just the kind of things to think of, so.
I think, who else would have been here?
I was here.
You
I
were
had the
here?
one, yeah, we had a guest, from, was it Wisconsin School Boards? It
No,
was a
I think we've had
woman.
two-
Superintendent.
Oh,
we
it was
had-
another
we had-
superintendent.
I think one time we had Louis Hirschbauer, I think, and he was from the School Board Association, and then the last one was from WASB. It was a woman, I'm trying to
Yeah.
remember her name.
I know
but-
Dennis was here a number of years
Dennis, right.
ago, but.
So
um,
sometimes we talk about board roles and responsibilities. I've done ones early in my time here where the topics were the same topics as committee meetings, and we just talked about budget, curriculum, finance. Sometimes that's okay. Again, I think when we find the date, then
Yeah.
we'll find the topics.
Yeah, and you
what
can-
people
you
want-
can
you wanna
just let
start
me know
thinking
what-
about. What do you want to talk about?
Topics, just
What
make them
ideas?
somewhat general though, in the respect that then we can open up the conversation, not restrict it. But it can be anything, whatever it is. So, okay, Lori will get that out and we'll work on that. Any other questions on our regular meetings? Otherwise, the next regular meeting would be July 13th at 7:00 PM. And if there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion and a second to adjourn.
Motion.
Okay.
Second.
Awesome. Okay.
All in favor?
Mhm.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.
No, that was good. Did that well.
Yeah, well, I guess when you get the chance, I can do that. I don't know what happened that way. No, and I wasn't there.